make it work. Determination is greatness, be power, flip the language. No silver spoon for your future, so you just gotta shape it. And when you make it, they'll hate it, but they'll never mistake it for anything other than hard work. These are the basics. I feel the hunger, my heart racing, my body pacing. My time is here and I own it, yeah, it's truly amazing. This what it sound like when all 7 chakras is blazing. I'm taking your brain on a ride, this is how yes, I believe that I can have my dreams. Yes, I believe that's my reality.
Okay, so the number one thing I wanted to tell people about you just to start off our conversation is tell me about your whole name and how do we say it right?
Okay, so my name is Naz Hillmon.
No, you forgot the middle part. You have a middle name.
I usually skate away with that one because people don't know my first name. So, okay, my name is Nazara Ansara Hillmon.
It's a beautiful name. So do you go by Naz or Naz?
I go by Naz.
Naz. Okay, so there's a rapper named Naz that I really like. So I just needed to make sure that you were also Naz. Okay. The first name is becoming a national phenomenon. And one of the things I'm really intrigued by is, do you know who holds the all-time scoring record, male or female, at the University of Michigan?
Yes, I do.
Who is that?
It is me, Naz.
How did you do that? 50 points in a game, the all-time record.
I honestly have no idea how I did it. In the middle of the game, like I had no clue until we got to the locker room. For me, I mean, that's a rival game. We were playing in my home state, and I just really wanted to win that game. Ultimately, we didn't. But it was just, I mean, it was a lot of fun in that game, super competitive. We were down most of it and fought and clawed back. But I mean, I can't even tell you how I managed to do that.
You needed all of the 50 points. It was a great game. I definitely remember. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your growing up, because you have kind of a unique family story. And I know a lot of people have done a lot of stories about it, but you know, your mom was a really good player, played at Vanderbilt, played professionally, and I know she pushes you. Tell me about the good parts of the relationship, and then maybe the bad parts about the relationship of having a mom that knows what you're trying to do right now.
Yeah. So the good parts, of course, is that she's gone through exactly what I went through. Her biggest help was probably in the recruiting process, just because she just knew the ins and outs of it. She knew all of the categories that I should, be checking boxes for. We literally had a binder full of, each school, like if they had certain majors, their roster, their depth, all of that in between. So she was super helpful with that and giving me pointers. And of course she knew some of the coaches because she played against them or some of them she played with. And then, just being my biggest critic. And I think that I would say that that's, a good thing in most parts. Sometimes parents aren't necessarily like that. And I think that having her, around to, critique my game helped me to critique it on my own once I got to college when she wasn't around as often. But I will say that we did start a 24-hour rule after like AAU games and stuff like that. Because, a 4-hour car ride of her telling you just like how bad you were or like how you didn't rebound, it just wasn't fun for me sometimes, especially when I was younger. We still technically have that rule now, but I'm safe to say, like I'll ask her, how I played right after the game now.
So for 24 hours, she had to not tell you, and then later once she had calmed down and you had calmed down, then she could tell you.
Yes, exactly. Because because I knew I had a bad game. I didn't need her to come back and tell me again and replay it. She's one of those people who remembers the plays and, all that in between. So I didn't need that right after the game. But now
I think every parent in America that is too much for their kids right now needs to be listening to our conversation. And I am one of them, because I'll be telling my son stuff like, well, why haven't you shaved? Why haven't you? And I'm just like, stop.
A small breath is all it takes. It's all it takes. Yep. Exactly.
Thank you for our therapy session this morning. I appreciate you very much.
Everybody needs a small one every morning.
Okay. Tell me your favorite passion off of the court.
My favorite passion off the court, I mean, I'd like to say that it's like something like shopping, because I do that a lot, but I think I'll go with photography, even though it's not something that I've been able to do as often, especially living in a colder state and then just being super busy with school and basketball. But when I was more so in high school, I loved photography, taking pictures of more like landscape stuff. I just think nature is beautiful, and being able to capture that I wouldn't say I'm great at it, but I definitely enjoy doing it.
I think when you enjoy doing something, you become great at it, kind of like what you're doing on the court. I think you are great at it. Tell me a little bit about, you said you had this whole binder of things that you were considering. Why Michigan?
Yeah, I always break it up into a few parts for Michigan. And one of the big things was just the Block M. Having that on your resume, having a degree from the University of Michigan is something that's going to take me super far. Obviously, I want to play basketball, until my knees can't take it anymore. But at some point, the basketball does stop for me. And I wanted to make sure that I had a degree from a university that was going to take me far. And their networking systems is amazing. They told me that when I got here, and I've seen that so far. The family aspect was also a huge part for me. I'm super close to my family, very close-knit, talk to just about each and every one of them every single day. And I wanted to go somewhere where I felt like I had a family and those people that I was, going to be spending the next 4 years with. And I definitely have found that at the university, from, my coaches and my teammates to the staff around me. And then of course, basketball. I mean, I can't just go and wash off of that. But for me, I saw that they were building something before I got here. And I really believed in what Coach Rico was saying to me and steps that I needed to take to be able to be successful. And we've checked a lot of those boxes since I've gotten here. And she was just super honest with me from the beginning. I think that was a huge part for me. And all of her assistant coaches, they never told me I was going to come in and start and play X amount of minutes. And even, I'm talking about those AAU games with my mom, like they were one of those schools that were like, yeah, you didn't have a great weekend. Where, some people would. And I'm like, I know I sucked. My mom knew I sucked. Coach knew I sucked. Like, I like the honesty from it because I felt like, okay, if she's going to be honest with me now, when I get there, it's going to be the same thing. She's going to continue to push me. So those were my main things of considering and going to the University of Michigan. But some of the icing on the cake is that it's in the Big Ten. I'm a Midwest girl and my mom can come to a lot of the games.
Oh, that's beautiful. And it's good basketball. Big Ten is good basketball. Okay, tell me some fun things about your personality. I don't know you as well. Like, I got to cover you last year, but we were in a bubble and we couldn't really interact. So it's like far away getting to know each other. You strike me as someone who's really organized and thoughtful. Is that true? Like, tell me about your organization.
I can be. I go super far off the spectrum. Sometimes I'm super organized and getting it done, but then sometimes I'm like, it'll get done in a little bit of time. But then my organizational skills comes right behind it. I'm like, you got to get your life together. So I'm not super strict on anything to make to the point where I'm always organized and together. But it definitely puts me in a better mind space when everything is organized, put together, A through Z. So I think I guess a little bit, but more so towards the organized side.
Tell me what drives you. I was talking to a college football team recently, and they had gone through this whole series of what is your why? And everybody kept reminding themselves of what is their why, so that when stuff got hard out on the football field, they could go back to, why am I doing this? So What is your why?
Yeah, for me, I definitely say that my why is my family. They've just put countless hours into me, whether that be training, driving me around the basketball camps, AAU tournaments, having so many sacrifices, leaving work early, not being able to go to this thing and that thing, to make sure that I was put in the best position possible to get to where I am now, and where I hope to be in a couple of years. So I just think that those people around me and putting so much time and effort into me is my why. For me, some people have seen my story, but, my brother, isn't able to play basketball right now. And me having the opportunity to be able to do that and him watching me is another big reason for me. And something that I definitely keep in the back of my mind. But it also, comes down to the people that I'm with in terms of my teammates. And my coaches, I play for them. And, I feel like if I'm giving my 110% for them, they'll do the same thing for me. And I feel like that's why, we're clicking right now. And, that's one of my biggest things is playing for the people around me. I definitely say it starts off with my family and then trickles down into, the people that surround me immediately, like my teammates and coaches.
And for those people who might be watching this who don't know about your whole story, why is your brother not able to play right now?
Yeah, so last year, 18-year-old, was my little brother was playing in a high school basketball game and actually ended up having a heart attack. and was unconscious for a couple of days and needed heart surgery and things of that nature, in the middle of COVID, in the middle of, my basketball season. So, I mean, obviously wasn't, a fun time for anybody during that. But he is recovered now and, has the opportunity to play basketball if he, so chooses, but not in the capacity that, he wanted to and, play in college and things of that nature. So, I mean, an 18-year-old having a heart attack in any capacity is something that you don't see every day, but definitely a trooper and has made it out stronger.
Did you go get a full heart workup after that just to make sure there wasn't anything going on with your family in that regard?
Yeah, I'd actually been doing some stuff. There's been some heart stuff, in my family. So I get regularly checked up for things like that.
Oh, that's good. I know a lot of young people out there before they start like their high school seasons, really good to get that complete physical, including a heart workup. Because I know that people can have stuff happen and they're like, I didn't even know I had an issue. So always get your physical. That's a great reminder. Okay. What is your best quality and your worst quality?
Wow, that's a great question. I guess I don't think about that often. My best quality, I like to say I'm a good listener. I think that, I really try to hone in on what people have to say because sometimes, everybody doesn't like to listen. People like to talk about themselves. So I think that's one of my best qualities. One of my worst qualities, I would say, is that I'm decently stubborn. And my coach tells me that pretty often, and sometimes my family does too. But I don't think it's stubborn in a bad way. Like, okay, sometimes it may be, but for the most part, I would say it's stubborn in a good way. Just I'm really in my ways, but usually for good causes, I would say. I'm trying to spin it, but
I like to be right about stuff, and I'm like, but no, I read this, and they're like, no, that's not right. And so I'm like Googling, and I'm going 17 layers deep to prove that I'm right, and instead of just being like, oh, okay, maybe I could be wrong.
Yeah, that is me. The word sorry is just like not really in my vocabulary. So when I say it, it's like far and few between, but it's okay. I'm working on it. I've been working on it for a while.
I think it's a good quality because you stick to what you believe in and you have a strong belief system that guides you. But I do think it's a good skill to be like, let me look at a different perspective. I'm working on that myself.
Working on it. Progress.
Okay. Fun hobby that does not relate to basketball. You told us photography, but like, what do you do right now in school in your free time?
I've been watching a lot of like movies. I've just gotten into like Marvel. So I'm trying to catch up on all of those. And like, I'm kind of in between. So I just went to go see Spider-Man, but I hadn't seen the ones prior. So I'm kind of like in a weird spot with the Marvel movies, but I've really been enjoying that, whether that's in my house, like watching it on Disney Plus or going to the movies. Of course, spaced away from everyone else in the movie theater, but that's one of the things that I really
So you'll never catch up on the Spider-Man movies because there's 7 million of them, but I have heard this new one that's out is the best one that has happened in years. If you were a Marvel character, which would you be? What would your superhero side be? I
mean, I'm a big fan of Doctor Strange. I just think like his whole story is super cool. Like I really enjoy Doctor Strange. I'm probably one of the few people who would say that he's their favorite, but probably my favorite. I'd probably be Doctor Strange.
Okay, so the thinker with lots of plans. So I think we're getting to know how your brain works a little bit. What is something you have done to break limits to really try to achieve greatness?
Yeah, I think, with that question, a lot of people would go with basketball, but I think one of my things is being a part of our Big Ten coalition. I think that's a huge, thing for me that I've been a part of in this past year, especially, with everything going on, racial injustice, gender inequalities, everything in between. And I think that, student athletes using their voices is going to be the future. Young people in general, but right now we've seen a lot of student athletes really use their platform to speak up about, what they think, is going on in our country right now. So I think that that's one of the biggest things. And, for some student athletes to see me doing that now and them to continue to do that down the road is one of the things that I feel like is really breaking limits right now to achieve greatness.
What is something that you have stood up for or in one of those meetings or in those Zoom calls that you have stood up for and been passionate about?
Yeah, one of the things that we were huge on last year and I felt like, was super important to me and I brought back to my team was the power of voting. I don't think that people understand how important it is and how many levels there are. Even before I got into the coalition, I knew that there were other times that you can vote outside of presidency, but I wasn't familiar with the the way that you did that, or, you know, getting the absentee ballot and everything in between. But learning about that and bringing that back to my teammates and my friends was huge for me, because I felt like it does actually make a difference. It is not, and you don't have to just vote for the president, but you can vote within your city and your state.
I love that. Michelle Obama said that of like, you might not be able to change everything in your society, but the number one thing you can do is plant small seeds. And I think you talking to your team about issues or talking to your friends and like, let's all get registered to vote. Let's all make sure we are making our voice loud here in our community. I think it's huge right now.
100%.
All right. Am I missing anything else that you're like, oh, if only they knew this, and this is so awesome about me?
Just that I'm a big Holly Rowe fan. That'd be the only thing.
I'm a big Naz fan because, you know, I had to wake up very early this morning and I would not do that for anybody but you.
I am so sorry for that. I completely forgot that you're on Mountain Time. So.
It's okay. I'm here for you because I would not miss this for the world. I cannot wait to see you play in person this year. Just such a magical run in the NCAA tournament last year. And you just are like a warrior spirit out there. I hope you know how much people appreciate watching you, and you just care so much. And I just love it. You believe in yourself, and I can see that on the basketball court, but also off.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.